Welcome to the Human Flourishing Project. I'm your host, Alex Epstein. So last week I talked about the wisdom of the fountainhead, and I want to do some more shows on that at some point in the future. But this week I wanted to do a quick episode on a topic that really came to mind in an unexpected way this last week. And the topic is the value of seeking out and then religiously following working systems. So seeking out and religiously following. Maybe I don't like that word exactly, but this is the idea that when I'm entering a new domain where I know very little about it, one of the best shortcuts I can take to knowledge and success is to try to look around and see who has different systems. So that means they have some abstract understanding that translates concretely into action that I can really follow, and to look at different systems and see, okay, which systems really seem to make sense, and then pick a system and then follow it in a very deliberate way. And this issue came up really strikingly in my life this week because of a very exciting new development, which is that my girlfriend Cassandra and I got a dog, and his name is Sherlock. Maybe I'll post a picture of him. And I've heard from many other people, not just my own perception, that he is the cutest animal that has ever existed in the history of the earth. And he's at least pretty close. Now, he is actually in this room right now, so he may make some noise at some point. He is tiny. He's what's called an Alaskan Klekai, which is basically a miniature husky. And he weighs just under 5 pounds now. And when he's full grown, he may weigh 10 or 11 or 12 pounds. And I'll share a picture. He's very adorable. And in advance of getting Sherlock, I read a little bit about dogs, but just a little bit. And I wasn't thinking enough about, in practice, what am I going to do in all sorts of different situations. I thought, I'm good with kids. I know kids a lot, and I like dogs. But I never had a dog. I certainly never had a puppy. And what happened was pretty early on, I realized, wow, there are a whole bunch of situations I don't really know what to do. And that created a bunch of anxiety, because then I think, okay, if I don't know what to do, then how am I going to learn? And I think often people who think of themselves as independent minded, which I definitely think of myself that way, there's this tendency to say, I'm just going to learn for myself. I'm going to learn through trial and error. But the thing is, how do I know? Most of the cause and effect that's important to our lives is pretty long term. So how do I know, like, if I do something, and I think I mentioned his name, Sherlock, that's our dog. If Sherlock likes it, like, is that the right thing? And then if he doesn't like it, is that the right thing? And what do I do if he starts peeing on the floor? Like, do I interrupt it or do I stay calm? And I just realized, wow, I don't have a system for this. At least actually first even didn't perceive it on that level. I just perceived it as, oh man, this is tough because I'm not sure what to do. And then I was talking to somebody and they just said, well, what about a coach or something like that? And I thought, I happen to know somebody who's a professional dog coach who I know well. And I don't know if she wants to be mentioned, so I won't mention her name, but I trust her judgment and she knows me well. And then I just had a couple of calls with her, and it just really brought this point to mind. Oh yeah. So I validated, from what I had read about dogs and different systems, she was in the category of systems that made sense to me, including this idea that you're the pack leader for the dog and that all sorts of behavioral issues arise if the dog has just total autonomy, like they don't actually want that. And so she was definitely in this school of thought, and I can't imagine she has the best system in the world, but the idea is she has a system that seems to work very well for her, that makes sense to me, and that's going to be infinitely better than my own trial and error, which can't possibly get to the truth in any relevant time span, because the people working on these systems have seen patterns over the lives of so many dogs, and there's just no way I'm in a position to do that. So one specific thing that came up today that was really exciting, and who knows where it will lead, but it was at least really exciting today, is I got the suggestion with Sherlock that, we're not supposed to take him on a walk on the ground because he needs to get his shots and he can get sick if other dogs have been around. And I had taken him a little bit in his dog carrier, but I got the suggestion, well, if you take him in your hands, in your arms, but you make sure the leash is on him, you make sure to hold him really tight, like that'll be a way better experience for him, and then he'll experience a lot of the elements of a walk. So I took him around our neighborhood and near the beach, and it was just amazing how he was so attentive and he learned so much, and it was a totally different experience than him being in that carrier. And it was really the first interaction where I had with him where I felt like, oh yeah, we're totally connecting and we're experiencing the world together. And he was just so calm and comfortable. And I would not have gotten this idea myself, because I had this idea that, well, I'm not allowed to take him on a walk, and I'll take him on a walk in several weeks or whatever when he's ready. But then I got this specific thing. Okay, if you walk him this way, it's going to be better, but it can still also be safe. And so that was an example where I wouldn't have thought of that myself, in who knows how long, but at least initially that seems to be a really, really great idea that then I can run with. And so having access to a working system, often ideally it's in the form of a coach or a combination of a coach and then reading about a system, that can just be an incredible value. So I'm really glad that I had some conversations early on where I caught myself not having really sought out a working system or the guidance necessary to practice a working system. And now that I have that, I'm realizing, oh yeah, this is the way I like to go, because then once I start applying that system, then I can start to learn. And if it has weaknesses, I can start to discover those. But the real danger when one is starting out is just having no idea what one is doing and then just going down all sorts of false paths. And I've found this is true. This is true for business. It's true for all sorts of things, where if I just say, oh, I'm just going to learn this from scratch, it's just like being a baby. It's just, I'm not going to know what I'm doing. So this applies to everyone, but particularly independent-minded people. I think one of the best ways of being independent is independently seeking out and judging different systems for things. And then once you find one that seems like it's the best or one of the best, try implementing it very literally and then see what happens. And then you can always change things, but if you change things in advance of implementing it, you might be changing something really crucial. So I found this is true with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, with pretty much everything, is it's good to seek out, find, and then implement in a very literal way these working systems. So far, it is working well with Sherlock. Sherlock is now, becoming increasingly comfortable and relaxed. And at the moment, he is just sleeping adorably next to me, letting me do this episode of the Human Flourishing Project. So that's what I wanted to talk about this week. If you have any questions, comments, love mail, or hate mail, you can email me at alex@alexepstein.com. You can also join the discussion on the Facebook page at facebook.com/humanflourishingproject. And to get updates about our shows every week, you can go to humanflourishingproject.com and sign up for the email list. I will be back next week. Not sure what the topic is. Maybe the Fountainhead, maybe something else. Until then, I'm Alex Epstein. This has been the Human Flourishing Project.